Because despite my opponent's best efforts to make you think otherwise, this failed philosophy is what John McCain has embraced for the last 26 years in Washington. I mean, he's now going around saying, I'm going to crack down on Wall Street. I'm going to really get tough on these folks. But the truth is, for 26 years, he's been saying, I'm all for deregulation. For 26 years, he said, the market is always king. For 26 years, he has said that we should cut taxes for those at the top. He hasn't been getting tough on CEOs. He hasn't been getting tough on Wall Street. So suddenly a crisis comes and the polls change, and suddenly he's out there talking like Jesse Jackson. Come on. It shows how out of touch he really is. How else could he offer $200 billion in tax cuts for big corporations at a time like this? I mean, if you look at his proposals, not his rhetoric, but his proposals, he's proposing $200 billion more in tax cuts for the wealthiest corporations out there. How else, if he wasn't out of touch, could he propose giving the average Fortune 500 CEO a $700,000 tax cut at a time when millions of Americans, when you are struggling to pay your bills? How else could he come up with an economic plan that leaves out more than 100 million middle-class taxpayers from any relief whatsoever? You say, I'm not sure he doesn't care, I just don't think he gets it. Well, Abington, I do get it. And I think you get it. And that's why we're going to win this election, so that Washington finally gets it. We know these are difficult times. We know how bad Pennsylvanians have been hurting. But here's what I also know. I know we can steer ourselves out of this crisis. Because that's who we are. Because that's what Americans do. This is a nation that's faced tougher times than these. We faced war and depression, great challenges and great threats. And at each and every moment, we've risen to meet these challenges because we've never forgotten that fundamental truth, that here, in this country, in the United States of America, our destiny is not written for us, it's written by us. Here in the United States, the future is ours to shape. And that's what we need to do right now. Part of what that means is that we are passing the rescue package that's before Congress right now. And I know it's controversial. In fact, I think Congress maybe have just completed the vote on it. This is a plan that will help us deal with the immediate crisis and put our economy on a firmer footing. It's a plan that I voted for the other night because I made sure it included taxpayer protections and wasn't simply a blank check like this administration initially asked for. It's a plan that the House, Democrats and Republicans in the House are going to be voting on. And although it's a tough vote, we need to understand, for those who are still trying to figure out what this is about, this is not simply about bailing out Wall Street. This is about making sure that your jobs are protected. This is about making sure that you are able to get a student loan. This is about making sure that you can get a mortgage. Because credit has dried up. And so to Democrats and Republicans in the House who are now on the fence, don't make the same mistake twice. For the sake of our families, our economy, and our country, we need to step up to the plate and pass this plan. But understand that even with this plan, we are going to face a long and difficult road to recovery. That's why, if I'm president, passing this rescue plan won't be the end what we do to strengthen our economy. It'll just be the beginning. It'll be the beginning of a long-term rescue plan for our middle class, a plan that will put opportunity within reach for anyone who's willing to fight for it. Now, some people have asked whether our weakened economy means the next president will have to scale back his agenda. I reject the idea that you can't build a strong middle class at a time when our economy is weak, because I've got a different economic philosophy than John McCain. I believe that building a strong middle class is the key to making our economy strong. And that's what I'll do when I'm president of the United States. So, yes, we'll create millions of new jobs. And we will put more money back into the pockets of hardworking families. But we'll also do something more. We will reform our healthcare system so we can relieve families, businesses, and our economy from the crushing costs of healthcare by investing in new technology and preventive care so people aren't going to the emergency room for treatable illnesses like asthma or diabetes. If you have health care, my plan will lower your premiums. If you don't have health care, you'll be able to get the same kind of coverage the members of Congress give themselves. I noticed in the other day when I was debating John McCain, he said, oh, Obama's just proposing some government-run health care plan. Now, first of all, that's not what I'm proposing, but second of all, John McCain doesn't mind his government-run health care plan. You know, it's funny how these folks are all down on government, except when it comes to their health care plan. Then they're perfectly happy. And my attitude is, you're paying my salary. Why should I have better health care than you do? And while we're at it, we're going to stand up to the insurance companies. You know, some of you know my mother died of cancer when she was 53 years old. And that was hard enough. But you know what made it harder? Was watching her in a hospital room, arguing with insurance companies over the phone because they weren't willing to pay for her treatment, saying it was a pre-existing condition. And so I know what it's like to see a loved one suffer, not just because they're sick, but because of a broken healthcare system. And it is wrong. And that's why we're going to make sure that when I'm president of the United States, those insurance companies are going to stop discriminating against those who are sick and need care the most. They are going to have to follow through on their commitments to their customers when I'm president. Another thing we know will work in the long term is to make sure our education system is second to none, so that every child in America, every child has the skills they need to compete for the high-wage jobs of the future. I've laid out a comprehensive plan to get there that will give our kids the opportunities they deserve. We're going to invest in early childhood education. We're going to pay our teachers higher salaries and give them more support. You know, when I spoke about my education plan a while back, Senator McCain's top education advisor said that this isn't an issue he's been focused on. That's what he said. You haven't been focused on education. Well, let me tell you, if you want to create jobs and grow this economy in the 21st century, you had better have a president who focuses on education. Because we know the countries that out-teach us today will out-compete us tomorrow. So we're going to invest in early childhood education, pay our teachers more, give them more support. We will have the highest standards, but we will not ask teachers to teach simply to a test, because we want our kids learning art and music and science